Hey, how's it going? Hi there. Um, Hi. Long time no see. I'm back. It's been about 2 years. I think August 2019 was the last time that I streamed. So I am trying to figure things out again, all over again. So hopefully everything will be okay. I don't know. I don't actually know. Um, but I think I have it set up, and you could just hear the dogs next door barking, probably. Anyhow, let's take a look. Ironsworn Starforged is a new version of the Ironsworn RPG that just was launched on Kickstarter. And actually, we can take a really quick look at the Kickstarter right now. It's gone up. Well, it was at 159,000 when or thereabouts. So it's gone up a little bit. And there were 3,000 backers, I think. What just as I was setting this up and everything, you can go to Kickstarter and search on Starforged to find it and consider backing it. There are a bunch of different support levels, including financial hardship and digital editions and deluxe editions and all sorts of fun things that you can check out. And I'll leave you to take a look at that if you want to explore that a little bit. If you haven't played Ironsworn, you can actually download a gratis version. Just go to ironswornrpg.com or drive-through-RPG and search for Ironsworn, and you can download a version that you can play right away. If you back the Kickstarter, you get a preview edition, which is essentially a fully functional edition already that you can start playing right away. And that's actually what I was going to actually take a look at today. Is dun dun dun. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, there it is. Oh man, streaming is so silly. Yeah. Anyhow, this is the preview edition. This is the edition that any level of backing that you give gets you access to the first post in the Kickstarter, which has this. And I just wanted to take a look at it. I don't know how far I'll get. I might get as far as playing, but I don't know. I was going to just sort of take a look at it from the standpoint of having played Ironsworn solo. And you can check out, I have a narrative version of that playthrough on my blog, oddorder.org. And it's on my YouTube, the whole series of actual play as I'm going through it is up there. So you can check that out. But I thought I would take a look and see what I think and maybe play. I don't know. We'll see. So, I mean, the artwork is fantastic. Super step up. Not that I'm bad mouthing the Ironsworn artwork and stuff, but this there's been a lot of work from several people going into creating the artwork for this, and there's actually, if you follow Shawn Tomkin on Twitter, you can check out some retweets and previews of Kitty. What are you doing? I put out some catnip, so I thought that would distract them and make the cats leave me alone long enough to do this. But I may have miscalculated. Oh well. Anyhow, yeah, I don't really know what I'm doing. Let's just take a look. So Shawn Tomkin, lead illustrator, Joshua Mahan, with icon and card design by Nathan Gray, consulting, digital tools. They're gonna do a Roll20 sheet for this, just like they did for Ironsworn. Ethan did an amazing job. I would really love them to support Foundry VTT, since I'm kind of moving in that direction. I've basically stopped using Roll20 a while ago for some various reasons, but not big reasons. I just don't really enjoy that VTT very much, and most of my playthroughs I actually use actual paper and dice rolling, but I started to explore Foundry VTT, and for some games that I may play later, and I would love to see equal support for that. And even if it were an official, sort of Ironsworn version of the rules that you could get, even paid, would be fine with me, as long as it was obviously reasonable. I'd love it to be included in the Kickstarter, but it doesn't look like that's going to happen. Anyhow, they also did some safety tool development for safety rules at your table, which are included in this, which is great. And then they've got a sensitivity consultant and all sorts of great stuff. The Absolute Tabletop is new. They're a partner with Shawn Tomkin for doing the after Kickstarter support and all that sort of stuff. So that's new. But it's brand new, April 27th, and it's the 29th today. So I got in there pretty good. There's inspiration and acknowledgement for Apocalypse World, City of Judas, Dungeon World, Fate, Mythic, Stars Without Number. I think those are all the same as Ironsworn. I would have to go back and look, but and then of course there's thank you to the playtesters and all that sort of stuff. Safety toolkit notice. This is the preview edition. It's a work in progress. So what do we got? Welcome to the Forge. So the Forge is the place where this happens. So this is the Iron Lands, and modes of play and what you need, tone and inspiration, setting, iron vows, character. So most of that is pretty close. Making moves, action rolls, momentum. Okay. Progress tracks, legacy tracks, which is experience, basically advancement, condition meters, impacts. Some of the impacts are new, like vehicle troubles, that's new. And there is a set of assets that are included with the preview edition. Equipment and vehicles, and the oracles, navigating forge, flow of play. Okay. I'm looking for what I'm doing, I'm just sort of reading the topics, the table of contents, but what I'm really looking for my eyes is I'm looking for what's new, what's different. Navigating the forge, eidolon travel, and seeing what's out there, that looks new. Prepare for liftoff, prep is play. So hey, I'm playing now. Returning to an existing campaign, there's a capital E in returning that doesn't probably exist or shouldn't exist. Choose your truths, default assumptions, and so this would be where we're going to sort of world build, and I suspect we'll probably get there, and maybe even creating a character. I don't know if we'll do much more than that today. So creating the character, choosing a starship, yeah. That's exciting. And building a sector. So if you're Stars Without Number, building a sector would be, I might have to break out Hex Kit and do some fun stuff with that. I had done a Hex Kit map for Stars Without Number, but then didn't actually end up playing. So I may have to break that out and try that out and see. So generating planets, generating stars is optional. Interesting. Okay. And sector map. No, the sector map is, there's actually a character sheet for that. Zoom in on a settlement, create passages, so trade routes and stuff like that. And then zooming in on a particular settlement, create the local connection. So that's your local sort of initial quest giver. Building adventure, inciting incident. Yeah, that's set the scene. Okay. Using the oracles. Great core action theme descriptor and focus. Those sound similar to Ironsworn, but space encounters, there's going to be a whole bunch of new stuff there, because even Ironsworn didn't really have like sea travel or anything like that, so those are going to be new. And then look at all those uh, oracles for planets. So there's desert, furnace, grave, ice, Jovian, so gas giant, jungle, ocean, rocky, shattered, tainted, vital, and then planet side peril and planet side opportunity. Now I'm curious for me because I was looking at Delve whether the planets are actually like Delve cards. So whether there'd be like a tarot size cards for the Delves, you know. And then we're going to talk about settlements and starships and characters and creatures. Yay! And then derelicts. Oh man! So we're going to explore some space hulks and things like that. Precursor vaults. Oh, oh, okay. So we're going to do a little bit of exploring ancient alien stuff and location themes. Chaotic, fortified, haunted, infested, inhabited, ruined, and sacred. So that definitely sounds Delve-like to me. And then miscellaneous oracles, story complication, combat and anomaly, and then oracle arrays. Sample encounter, and move glossary, and moves. Adventures, exploration, suffer threshold. Those look really similar. Off the top of my head, those don't sound different. Okay, so basics. Let's take a look. Man, that artwork. And actually, if you take a look at the Kickstarter or Shawn Tomkin's YouTube, you can watch the video where they actually do motion graphics. So they've taken the elements of that image even right there and actually given it some parallax. It's pretty cool. Welcome to the Forge. In Ironsworn, Starforged, hereafter referred to as Starforged. And it's funny because the playtest it started out as Starforge. And so if you look at, I did some playtests before they moved it behind into the Discord when I could get to it on Twitter. And I did some of those playtests. And so the graphics say Starforge. But I went back and I changed the video titles to Starforged so it would match the actual new title. Anyhow, I guess there was a video game that didn't go anywhere that had that name for a little while. You are a space-born hero sworn to undertake perilous quests. You will explore uncharted space, unravel the secrets of a mysterious galaxy, and build bonds with those you meet in your travels. Most importantly, you will swear iron vows and see them fulfilled, no matter the cost. Or forsake them. I'm just saying. Or fail. To play Starforged, you make some decisions about the setting and your character, and set your story in motion. When you encounter something dangerous or uncertain, your choices and the dice determine the outcome. Building on the Ironsworn legacy, Starforged is a standalone sequel, so you don't need Ironsworn, but if you're an experienced Ironsworn player, welcome back. Hi, thanks. You'll find some changes and enhancements to suit the space-born setting, but the core of the game will be familiar. If you're new to Ironsworn, this rulebook will give you everything you need to undertake quests in a perilous galaxy. And just off the bat, if it's anything like the Ironsworn manual, the which of course it will be, it's really going to be great as far as getting you right into the action and making it easy for you to start if you've never done this particular style of game or any role playing before. But it don't feel like you should feel daunted. This was a thing actually that happened for me with Ironsworn, was that I put off checking out Ironsworn for a long time because it looked crunchy to me. There were so many rules and the moves and things were a little bit different than what I was familiar with from other tabletop RPGs. But man, once you get into it and you look at it, it really makes sense for the most part. There's some things about it that you kind of want to figure out as you're going along, but it's not nearly as crunchy, and it intentionally makes the narrative forward, as far as like, especially for solo role playing, that's a really great thing. Instead of being bogged down in a bunch of simulationist rules, you can really get in and do the narrative really well. That was my experience. I had put it off, but then when I got into it, I found out it was not nearly as difficult to get into, even though it was a new system for me that I hadn't actually played any Powered by the Apocalypse games before that. And so I've actually since then I've started looking at other ones, because I'm like, oh, this is a whole new world of role playing that I haven't experienced before, and it was way easier than to get into than I thought. So there's modes of play. So it's completely open to, you can have a guided play where one or more players takes the role of their characters and the protagonist, while another one guides the story, like a dungeon master or a game master. There's cooperative, and oh man, I'm sorry, I forgot the name of the group, but they actually did a Ironsworn group where they really did co-op. That was really fun to watch. I've mentioned them before, I think, but I'm going to, however, be playing solo. As with cooperative play, no guide is necessary. You portray a lone heroic character using the Starforged game system to explore the dramatic story of your character and their fateful vows. Starforged is primarily intended for solo and small group play. 1 to 4 players, plus a guide if playing in that mode, is ideal. This rulebook is often written to the perspective of a solo player, but the basic approaches and the rules are the same for co-op and guided play. Using this rulebook. You don't need to read the rulebook cover to cover to learn how to play Starforged. Here's a summary of each chapter and some advice on what to read and when. Chapter 1, the basics. You're reading it. This is the introduction to Starforged, the fundamentals of the game. If you're a returning Ironsworn player, this chapter will provide a refresher and introduce some changes. If you're new to Ironsworn, it will get you up to speed. Feel free to just scan this chapter to get a sense of the fundamentals. And if you have a question about a particular aspect of play, jump to that section and give it a closer read. Chapter 2, launching your campaign, which starts on page 66. I just totally went on a Star Wars thing. Of course it starts on Order 66. This chapter includes a series of exercises to get your Starforged campaign up and running. Work through these exercises to define the nature of your setting and create your character, set up a starting location, and undertake your first quest. Chapter 3 is the Oracles. I probably will go through the first 2 and then not very specifically go through the Oracles. Chapter contains the Oracle tables, and they're the inspiration engine for playing Starforged. You don't need to read this chapter, but it helps to have a look and to get a sense of the tools and the game provides. During play, you'll refer to the Oracles when you need to help to determine an outcome of an action, aspect of the setting, or a narrative event. And then the game in depth, not included in the preview edition. This chapter will include extended details, options, and advice for playing Starforged. Foes and encounters, not included in the preview edition. This chapter will provide an array of cunning foes and perilous encounters for your Starforged campaign. Neat. The preview edition also includes 3 appendices, sample NPCs, a glossary, and a listing of moves. And there is actually... What happened? Sorry, I saw something flash over. Anyhow, there are also 2 other things that are included in this. One is the PDF of the asset cards. And that's what they look like. We'll get into I'll get into them, but these are all sorts of little things that your character can have as their resources in addition to the actual character. Sort of like a kit of something of some kind, like a starship or The starship might have heavy cannons and things like that. And so each card will give you some extra moves and things. Then the other thing that's included in this is a play kit. And the play kit has a short reference. So you could print those out and have them. Basically, it's like having a DM screen with the the most important information. Well, theoretically, the most important information that you need available right up front. So that's something that is useful. And then the play kit also includes the character sheet, a sheet that has that you can print out multiple times to do each of your iron vows and your progress bars. And then it has a sector map. My printer didn't like the light lines, so those went away. But there are actually hexes on there, so you can actually start generating your system. And then it's got these data readouts, which I assume are in case you don't have dice, you can grab a number off of there and mark it off. And there's actually 5 whole pages of the data readout. So you don't need dice at all, which is kind of cool. Okay, so back to the preview. Bum, 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 bum. And key terms shown in red. And when the first introduced, if a term is reintroduced in another important context, it'll be shown in red again. Okay, cool. What you need to play, the 2 10-sided die, 1 6-sided die for each player as the action dice, and optionally another pair of 10-sided dice to use as an oracle set. And having those in separate colors can be useful as well. You also need to print and play some materials, all of which are available as digital files bundled with the rulebook, the character sheet, those asset cards, and then the Starforged play kit. It has a bundle of all that stuff together, which I just showed you. And then you might also want a journal or notebook to record your adventure log. I kind of cheat, and when I was playing the Ironsworn, I actually just I rewatched my own recorded video, and then I wrote down what happened. So I didn't really keep notes while I was going, which can actually be a problem because I'll forget while I'm playing what happened. But you do you. And then scheduling your Starforged sessions. If you're playing solo, a session can be as long as you like, from a few minutes to a few hours. And if you're playing with others, you'll probably want to dedicate some time. You want to have a couple hours. Plan on, at least 1.5, maybe 3 hours, more like, right? If you prefer to use digital platforms, combination of check for links to the most popular resources. Yeah, okay. Roll20 is there's some excellent stuff there, and then the Kickstarter is going to make web-based oracles and all sorts of stuff that you can use as well. Tone and inspiration. The default tone for Starforged is greedy, human-centric science fiction on the perilous frontier. Well, that's probably going to change for me. When I did the playtest, I created an uplifted octopus, so I'm not going to stick with human-centric. That's for sure, I think. But that's very traveler. And this is a scavenged future with starships often cobbled together from salvage. People cling to survival on inhospitable worlds and in remote space stations. Much has been forgotten or lost. It's a dangerous life for anyone living on this frontier, and doubly so for the Ironsworn, those adventurers bound to sworn quests. Inspiration for Starforged comes from the quest-driven adventures of the Mandalorian, the lived-in aesthetic and remote outer rim locations of the original Star Wars trilogy, the workaday exploits of Firefly, the isolated horror and industrial grittiness of Alien, the desperation and retro tech of Battlestar Galacta's modern reboot, the mysticism of Dune, and the cosmic mysteries and class struggles of The Expanse. All of those are right up my alley, so that is cool. I'm looking forward to that. You are encouraged to make Starforged your own and to bend the tone to your liking. Your version of the setting will be unique because you'll define aspects such as the history of your people, technology, communities, life forms, supernatural abilities, and more. And that's going to be part of the when we do the world building. The setting. Your adventures are set within the Forge. This is a globular cluster in orbit around your people's home galaxy. It is 1,700 light years above the galactic plane, a bright island in a dark void. Vast clouds of interstellar nebula span the depths of the Forge, interspersed with denser clouds of vibrant interplanetary dust and strange energy. It is a chaotic galaxy. Hey, Zol! Hey, thanks for the bits. How you doing? Nice to see you. Yeah, I'll probably upload. I haven't decided. I'll either upload it raw, or I'll edit it down and then upload it, or I might upload both. I haven't decided yet. This was a spur of the moment thing. I actually got gigabit Ethernet installed like 2 days ago, so I can actually stream again. Yeah, so have a great dinner, and I'll catch you later. Thanks for the bits, and for stopping by. And so, yeah, it's a chaotic galaxy racked by fiery stellar storms and unpredictable gravitational currents. The planets and stars of this place are born of that chaos. Your people came to the Forge 2 centuries ago in the wake of a cataclysm in their home galaxy. Well, that's very Ironsworn, is it not? Remnants of ancient civilizations hold dangerous knowledge and forbidden power. What about dangerous power and forbidden knowledge? Your people build settlements on new worlds, but those places rarely offer a safe haven. Conflicts often rage between people and factions. Pirates prowl the spaceways in search of easy prey. Baneful creatures and dark forces dwell on corrupted planets and in the abyssal void between stars. And the regions of the Forge. So this is like the Ironlands, where there were the various regions on the map. The terminus. Your people landed in this region following their exodus from their home galaxy. Settlements are common here. Factions compete for resources, and spaceborne caravans follow charted paths among the stars. But the Forge is a vast galaxy. Even here, well, it's a globular cluster. Even here, they are still unknown, and there are still unknown and isolated domains. The Outlands. In the last decades, your people have pushed deeper into the galaxy, searching for habitable planets, resources, and opportunities. Settlements within the Outlands are scattered, and navigation paths are often uncharted. The Expanse. A few bold pioneers have delved the far-flung reaches of the Forge. Isolated settlements have been built among these distant domains, but they are usually lost and disconnected from the settled regions. And then the Void. Beyond the Forge, there are only a few isolated stars and vast gulfs of nothing. Travel beyond the periphery of the Forge is difficult or impossible. You'll learn more about the setting and decide the nature of your version of the Forge using the guided exercises, starting on Order 66. And here's a cool map. So there's our globular cluster hovering way over the galaxy. Mechanics and the fiction. Starforged is a game. It uses various mechanics such as rolling the dice and managing the stats and resources of your character sheet. On your character sheet. As a player, you will often make decisions based on a desired mechanical outcome. For example, you might choose a particular action to get a bonus on your die roll. The basic mechanics of Starforged are introduced in this chapter. Starforged is also heavily reliant on the fiction, which is the imagined characters, situations, and places within your game. You will envision actions and events in a way that is consistent with the dramatic fictional reality you have forged. See what he did there? Forged for your story and the setting. How the mechanics and fiction interact. You start by picturing the situation. What's happening? What are you trying to do? How are you doing it? If you're playing solo, imagine it. If you're playing co-op, talk it out. If you are the guide, set the scene for your players and work with them to add or clarify details. Then, if a protagonist faces uncertainty or danger, the mechanics help resolve the situation. You roll dice, check the result, and translate that outcome back to the fiction. How does the situation change? What happens next? In this way, the fiction bookends the mechanics. And then that's a really great graphic that really, the fiction forward. It's kind of, like in D&D, some tables do it that way, where like a player character, instead of saying, I want to roll perception or whatever, would describe the action that they'd like to do. And then the guide says what the mechanical way of doing that is. So it's kind of like that. And you'll learn how the mechanics work in this chapter, but keep in mind this balance between those mechanics and the fiction. Without mechanics, your story lacks choices, consequences, and surprises. Without fiction, the game is an exercise in rolling dice. Playing Starforged relies on both the mechanics and the fiction, but leads and follows with the fiction. The Force. It's the Force. It determines our actions, but also obeys our commands. The word envision is important. When you see envision as a prompt during gameplay, that's your reminder to take a moment and put the focus on the fiction by imagining, describing, or discussing what is happening. If you're unsure, you'll have random prompts and generators to help you. Iron vows. For the people of the Forge, an iron vow is sacred. When you hold a piece of iron and declare your solemn promise to serve or aid someone, or to complete a personal quest, your honor is bound to that vow. Those who undertake these sworn quests are called Ironsworn. Abandoning or recanting an iron vow is the worst sort of failure. Iron vows are the core of playing Starforged. It is your vow that drives you. These goals create the context for your adventures and challenges. As you complete vows, you gain experience and new abilities. In the campaign launch exercises in the next chapter, you'll have an opportunity to define the nature of iron vows in your setting. And then this is another example of the just fantastic art. And clearly, this person is making an iron vow. That's there in that world, when that world was envisioned, that's how you make an iron vow. That's cool. That's really cool. Okay, your character. You use a character sheet shown on the opposite page. So we'll get a look at that. Well, we already did, but to manage the main aspects of your character. This sheet includes components such as a momentum meter, condition meters, and impacts. We'll cover these later in this chapter. The character sheet also includes stats, which are core to your character's capabilities. In the next chapter, you'll create your character and assign each stat a value from +1 to +3. Then, when things get risky or uncertain, you roll dice and use one of your stats as a bonus. The stats are Edge, which is quickness and agility and prowess when fighting at a distance, so ranged weapon. Heart, courage, willpower, empathy, sociability, loyalty, and Iron, physical strength, endurance, aggressiveness, and prowess when fighting at close quarters, so that's melee. And Shadow, sneakiness, deceptiveness, and cunning. And wits, expertise, knowledge, and observation. Another key aspect of your character is your assets, an example of which is shown below for Navigator. They're formatted as printable poker-sized cards. Assets provide abilities which can improve or modify your actions. They are acquired when you create your character and as you gain experience. In this rulebook, asset names are going to be in all caps, and you'll learn more about those later. So here's our first glimpse at our, like, in the rulebook at a asset ability. So this is a path. It's kind of like a class, a profession. So you start with, when you set a course as a move, and then you get these additional advancements if you take them. Okay, that's pretty cool. So here's the character sheet, and you can use. There's an example somewhere else, but for the momentum, health, and spirit and supply tracks that are on the sides, you can actually. It's really easy to just use like banana clip or a paper clip or something like that, and you just move it up and down. So you don't necessarily. I mean, you could laminate it, I suppose, but you wouldn't really want to write constantly and erase constantly on those tracks. The other ones are a little more constant as far as that goes. So your 5 stats and are at the top, and then there's quests, bonds, and discoveries, which is basically tracking your advancement. And then it has your background vow as like your core personal motive. And then there's impacts, ongoing damage and things like that, like being traumatized and stuff like that. So you are Ironsworn. Your character is not just an array of mechanical bits and bobs, although mine might. So don't shame me. They are a person. I am not necessarily a person. Grounded in the fiction of your setting. Okay, I'll give you that one. They have hopes and fears, virtues and failings. In the exercise in the next chapter, you'll create your character and define their nature and background. For now, here are some default assumptions. You are driven. Many live out their lives barely venturing beyond the shelter of their orbital station or planetside outpost. But you are different. Your sworn vows will lead to a life of danger, heroism, and sacrifice at the edge of known space and beyond. It's funny. That makes me think of, there was a time when I was traveling on a freeway towards an airport, and I realized that the distance I was traveling to get to the airport to go somewhere else was already farther than most people alive in the modern world have traveled from their homes, which blows my mind. I sort of grew up traveling a lot as a kid and in my life, so it's weird to me to think about the fact that people didn't travel. But then I went back in my actual family history, and my family history has leaped across the pond from Europe to America, to the Americas multiple times, back and forth. So I don't know. Maybe it's just in my family history of travel. But I have a suspicion that people actually did travel a lot. You look at the migratory paths and of throughout Europe and across the Alps and stuff like that, and I don't know. I think people did travel quite a bit. I think being sedentary is new. That's not really. I mean, there's a lot more of us on the planet now, I suppose. But okay. Anyhow, tangent done. Travel is weird. I don't understand not traveling. Of course, I haven't really been traveling lately. Anyhow, blah blah blah. Okay. Next thing, you are a spacer. For most, space is lonely, cold, incomprehensibly vast, and full of peril. Space wants to kill you, as they say. For you, at least for now, it is home. You have a starship, and the depths of this largely uncharted galaxy call to you. You are competent. You might specialize in a particular career or set of skills, but you are broadly self-reliant and capable. You are imperfect. You are not without your limitations. You'll make bad decisions. You will fail. Fate will conspire against you. Overcoming those hardships, pushing on, is what makes you heroic. You are unbound. The default setting is human-centric, and Starforged does not include specific options to play alien races, robots, or other non-human science fiction archetypes. Ah! It literally doesn't matter. Write it, if you want that, as I probably will, just write it into your narrative. It literally does not matter. This is a big thing with D&D with the races. You literally just make it a narrative choice. There's no reason to make that stuff mechanical. Use the mechanics, but describe yourself in the narrative however you want to do. It's tying the mechanics to particular body modes of body, like whether you're an alien or a robot or whatever. It doesn't matter. Just separate them out. Use the mechanics to describe what the mechanics do, but let the narrative be whatever it wants to be. Tell your own story. You don't need the mechanics to tell you how to play a robot. Although some oracles and things would probably be useful for that sort of stuff, but I'm just saying, play whatever you want to play. Other characters. The mechanics and fiction of Starforged are almost entirely focused on the actions and intent of your character. But you are not alone in the Forge. There are other characters who will take a role in your story. If you're playing a co-op or guided game with other players, their characters are referred to in the rules as your allies. A companion is a special type of asset. They are a person, creature, or robotic helper who accompanies you on your adventures. NPCs, non-player characters and creatures, are the other characters who inhabit your universe. They can have a single mechanical attribute, their rank, to help set up their relative scale and abilities. But you do not roll dice for them. When you attempt to influence them, oppose them, or aid them, take action from the perspective of your character. More details and examples of NPCs are included later. As you explore the Forge and undertake quests, you will establish deeper relationships with NPCs called connections, who become a more vital part of your campaign. In another luscious artwork. Now, I'm blanking. It's been long enough. I'm blanking. There was a nemesis or villain track in Ironsworn, which was a step up from just a plain old NPC. So we'll see if Starforged includes that too. Making moves. Moves are self-contained systems to resolve an action, scene, or question. There are moves to cover most uncertain and risky situations you encounter in Starforged. Moves are centered on the protagonists, those characters portrayed by the players. Other characters do not make moves. There is a trigger. Triggers are phrased as when you blank. When I blank, when you do that thing or encounter that situation, make a move. And there's a name, and then there's an action roll. Moves require taking an action roll and which stat. And then it details what happens if you get a strong, weak, or miss. And I know what that means, but it talks about that later. When a move's name is referenced within the rules or by another move, you'll see it as underlined. There is no example of that in this particular section. That's weird. I would pick one that has that example that it's trying to point to, but if you're reading the Starforged rulebook on a digital device, clicking underlined text will take you to the text for that move. That's a cool feature. That's a nice touch. Moves and dice. Interior linking. Most moves are based on risky actions. You duck behind cover in a gunfight, fly your starship through a dense asteroid field, or give medical care to an ally. These moves use dice to determine the outcome. This is called an action roll. A few moves measure your headway against an extended challenge, such as an expedition or a fight, using a progress track. These are called progress moves. When you are ready to resolve a challenge, you make a progress roll. Other moves utilize a different kind of dice roll called an oracle roll. These moves help determine the outcome of uncertain events out of your character's control. Some moves don't require a roll. They might support or reference a separate move or simply help you resolve a mechanical or narrative situation. Don't roll dice unless a move tells you to. Can you hear the dogs? Man, it is non-stop noise over there. Okay, and so we'll get to the specific method of rolling dice in this, using the challenge dice and stuff like that. Referencing moves. Moves are based on the structure created by D. Vincent Baker and Megway Baker in their Apocalypse World role-playing game. If you're familiar with Apocalypse World, which I'm not really, or other games using the basic rule set called Powered by the Apocalypse, you might be surprised by the relatively large number of moves in Starforged. Don't be intimidated. You are not expected to memorize Starforged moves. After playing the game for a bit, you'll start to become familiar with their organization and triggers. They're categorized by activities, which means you tend to focus on a subset of moves for a particular scene. When more than one move seems to apply, use the one most specific to the situation. Once you understand the basic mechanics of rolling dice and managing your character's resources, which are detailed in this chapter, the options and outcomes within moves help create a perilous, propulsive story. A propulsive story. All right. Reference sheets for the moves are available as part of the play kit. So that was the reference sheet that I showed you as part of the play kit. Making group moves. When you're adventuring with I'll read this even though I'm probably never ever gonna play this with another person. When you are adventuring with allies, protagonists portrayed by other players, one of you will often make moves to resolve a challenge for the group. This represents that character taking the lead in a particular scene. You're at the helm of your starship, and as you undertake an expedition across a sector riddled with violent and unpredictable stellar storms, your allies put their faith in your talent as a pilot, and you take the lead for this segment of the journey. You make the move and roll the dice. Unless a move specifically offers benefits for your allies, any mechanical bonus you gain from a move is applied only to the character making the move. For example, if you represent your group as you swear an iron vow and score a strong hit, you take the mechanical reward per the move, take +2 momentum. Everyone else benefits from the narrative success. The exception are moves such as Sojourn, which provide specific options for your allies to take their own benefits. When you make a move for the group, allies can contribute to your action by making the aid your ally move. If they are successful, you gain a bonus you can leverage to improve your own chance of success. If more than one ally makes this move, bonuses can be stacked. However, keep in mind that moves are inherently risky, and multiple moves will dramatically increase the chance of failure. That is a really good point. I mean, you can stack up bonuses, but if somebody fails and causes something else bad to happen, when you make a move for your group and face a negative outcome, you should apply mechanical and narrative costs to an individual or the group in a way that best fits the current situation. Best practices for moves. Okay, not everything is a move. Don't let your session jump from move to move without any roleplay, world building, or storytelling in between. If you're doing something safe and certain, it's not a move. If you want to gloss over something, do it. That's essentially a veil or fast forwarding. as a like in a safety move. Mini moves offer potential benefits and costs, and it's ultimately your decision whether to risk the move to gain the reward. If you happen across a planet-side settlement in your travelers in your travels and decide to roleplay some low-key interactions with friendly locals, that's not a move. However, if you are wounded and your ship is badly damaged, making the sojourn move at that settlement gives you an opportunity to recover. Making moves matter. Let your moves flow organically out of your story. Don't make moves purely for a mechanical benefit without some support in the fiction. Boy, what comes to mind is like playing Star Trek Adventures and then, doing some piddly little scanner thing in order to get momentum, just to have gotten the mechanical benefit. And don't repeat a move trying to get your desired outcome. A move, hit or miss, should always result in a change to the current situation. Yeah, like Magic 8 Balls and tarot cards. Don't ask the same question over and over again. You are trying to convince a faction leader to agree to an alliance. You roleplay you attempt to reason with them. Then you make the compel move and fail. They refused. Why? What do you learn, or what do they do to make your situation more complex or dangerous? Whatever happens, something happens. That's a bumper sticker right there. Whatever happens, something happens. Wherever you go, there you are. You can't compel them again without new leverage or a different approach. However, there will be times when you make a move multiple times in a sequence. In combat, you might attack or defend with consecutive actions. When you're traveling on a long journey, you might roll several times to make progress on the expedition, building progress on a goal of some kind. That's fine as long as the moves don't get too mechanical. Break up the flow of play with other actions and narrative beats. When in doubt, follow this guideline. If you've made the same move 3 times in a row, switch things up. Managing negative outcomes. Moves can represent escalating danger. A failure on one move might result in a minor complication or hardship, while leading the character into more perilous circumstances. The outcome of additional failures can progressively worsen to show control slipping out of the character's grasp. That's totally. I mean, we're starting to talk about the Star Wars and Indiana Jones and Kira Kurosawa's The Hidden Fortress, and basically just like or cliffhangers in Savage Worlds, Flash Gordon. Managing negative outcomes. I already read that. Let's move to the next paragraph. Some moves will make this explicit by giving you a specific bad outcome. Otherwise, ratcheting up the severity of failure is a technique to create increasing tension and danger. Whether you are playing a character or moderating the game as a guide, this is a valuable tool to manage the intensity of the story. So this is the mechanical aspect of the action roll. And it involves 2 10-sided die and an action die. And the action roll is the most common test in this particular game for your character. When you make a move triggered by a risky or uncertain action, roll these 3 dice at once and see what happens. After rolling, add a stat to your action die. The move will tell you which stat to add, phrased as roll plus stat, so like plus strength or whatever. Or may give you a choice. Some moves will tell you to use one of your condition meters, such as health or supply, in place of a stat. You may also have an opportunity to apply one or more bonuses called adds, phrased as add plus X. The total of your action die, your stat, and any adds is your action score. The action score is never greater than 10. Anything over that is ignored. So your action die plus stat plus adds and an action score of 6. To determine the outcome of your move, check if the action score beats the individual values of the challenge dice. So the action score of 6 compared to rolling a 4 and a 6 is a weak hit because it beats only one of them. 3 possible outcomes for the action. Strong hit, you succeed on both die. Weak hit, you succeed on one. And I mean, you succeed, but with a cost or a lesser effect of some kind. And then a miss is you don't beat either of the challenge die, and you fail or must make serious concessions. Resolving the outcome. Based on your results, strong hit, weak hit, or miss, the move will tell you how to interpret the outcome of your action. It might also offer you a choice. The result may include mechanical changes to your character's status and narrative changes to the current situation. Then, frame how the overall situation has changed. Play to see what happens next. A strong hit means you're in control. You are the driving the narrative and taking proactive actions. What do you do next? A weak hit means the situation is slipping out of your control. Instead of acting, you react. How do you respond? A miss means you have lost control of the situation. You might need to overcome new dangers or face increasing risk. What happens next? Remember, your action score needs to beat, not equal, the challenge die to count as a hit. Ties go to the challenge dice. Since your action score can't exceed 10, that means you never beat a 10 on a challenge die. Paying the price. When you score a miss on a move, you'll usually see a prompt to pay the price. This is a special move that lets you pick a likely negative outcome, roll on a table to see what happens, or use some other random prompt. If you're the guide, you can consult the pay the price move and tell the players the price as appropriate to the situation, or just ask them to name their own price. The main thing to remember when you must pay the price, something happens. The situation gets more complex, dramatic, or dangerous. This can mean a narrative consequence, which complicates things for your character, or a combination of a narrative and mechanical cost. Depending on the situation, the negative outcome might be framed as a result of an error or a misstep, or as an external event you had no control over. But be mindful of pacing. Be mindful of the force. Don't drop the hammer on your character after one bad action roll. Start with lesser consequences appropriate to the situation and apply escalating danger and hardships if the failures stack up. Some moves and asset abilities modify the standard action rolls, such as permitting a reroll or replacing the action die with another value. The text of that move or ability will describe how it switches things up. Rolling matches. This is a fun mechanic, of course. When you make an action roll, check the value of the challenge die. If they are the same, you've rolled a match. Some moves or assets offer specific outcomes for rolling a match. For example, if you explore a waypoint and roll a strong hit with a match, you can make a discovery as your character happens upon something wondrous. The match makes the outcome of your action more dramatic. If your move and assets don't provide a specific result for a match, you can still use it as a prompt to make something interesting happen. In solo and co-op modes, a match is your trigger to add a twist or create a complication, introduce a new peril, or otherwise mix things up. If you're playing as the guide, a match on the challenge die can be your cue to introduce a surprising turn of events for the players. There are 2 possible interpretations for a match. Strong hit. The match should represent a twist in the narrative, something interesting, or a new opportunity. Miss. The match should represent a heightened negative outcome, a complication, or new peril. Things get worse in an unexpected way. You can also let the intensity of your success or failure frame how you interpret a match. Rolling match 10s on your challenge die should prompt you to introduce a harrowing turn of events or a dire failure, as it's as bad as things can get. Not sure what a match means for the current situation? You can ask the Oracle, which is a move you use to ask questions or check for inspiration. If the Oracle isn't helpful and you're... sorry, I saw something move. And you're still stuck for an idea, don't sweat it. Just move on. Matches are not mandates. They are just an opportunity to season your story with occasional dramatic turns. the guide and the dice. If you're playing with the guide, you can focus on moderating the session and responding to your players' questions and actions. Since NPCs don't make moves, you won't need to make action rolls. However, you might want to have a pair of 10s available for oracle dice, oracle rolls. So this would look better in the book because it would be spread across 2 pages. But so there's you can see on that character sheet on that side, and there's the paperclip right there as an example. But you can see that you can track your momentum. Momentum is a special mechanic which is central to playing Starforged. Your momentum value ranges from -6 to +10 and represents how you are faring in your quests. Move results may tell you to increase or decrease momentum. Mechanically, high momentum gives you a chance to overcome the whims of fate and improve your result on an action roll. In the fiction, momentum represents whether your character is surging forward or if the tide has turned against you. The momentum meter is on the left side of your character sheet, and you can use a paperclip or a token to mark the current value. It's kind of a meta currency because you can cash it in like a fate chip or a Benny to do to change what happened in a particular roll, for example. Gaining momentum. So you gain momentum as an outcome or option when making moves. This represents securing advantage, acquiring new insights, and making progress in your quests. If a move tells you to add momentum, phrased as take plus X momentum, increase your momentum meter by that amount. The choices you make in a move or the assets you use to support the move may modify the value of the momentum gain. In general, taking +1 momentum represents a minor advantage. Taking +2 or more represents a major advantage. And then losing momentum, when you suffer a cost which causes a delay or puts you at a disadvantage, make the lose momentum move. Using this move as appropriate to the severity of the situation, you can reduce your momentum by -1, -2, -3. Some moves or assets will prompt you to lose momentum as part of an outcome for an action and may specify an amount of momentum to suffer, phrased as lose momentum -X. You might also lose momentum as a cost when you pay the price. Oops, wrong way. What? Oh. Oh, it's not spread across the 2 pages. It's just the one side. So we'll talk about supply and stuff later. So burning momentum. Burning momentum is a powerful option. So this is the meta currency version of it. Is a powerful option to build on your success and deliver a decisive result or avoid a dire failure. When you have positive momentum, after you make an action roll, you may replace your action score with your current momentum value. For example, your momentum meter is a +7, and your action score is 4. You roll a 5 and a 9 on your challenge die. This would normally be a miss, but you can burn momentum to make your action score 7 instead of 4. This shifts your result from a miss to a weak hit. Burning momentum is never required. Even if you score a miss or on a move and have enough momentum to beat the challenge die, you can choose to suffer the failure and save your momentum for a more crucial moment. After you burn momentum, you must reset your momentum, and then we'll see on the next page how that's done. Oh, here we go. Okay. After you burn momentum, you must adjust your momentum meter to your momentum reset value. The default is reset is +2. This value is reduced when you suffer from an impact, and impacts are the statuses like wounded, shaken, unprepared, stuff like that. And they are marked on your character sheet as a result of a move or a narrative event. If you have one impact marked, your momentum reset is +1. If you have more than one impact marked, your momentum reset is 0. There is a box below the momentum meter to record your current momentum reset. Right, okay, and it's marked max and reset. This may rise and fall through the course of a single session as you encounter hardships and recover, but some impacts are lasting and will permanently alter your reset value. Max momentum. Your max momentum starts at plus 10. This maximum is reduced by 1 for each marked impact. For example, 1 impact will drop your max momentum to plus 9. 3 impacts will reduce it to plus 7. There's a spot on your character sheet below the momentum meter to record your current max momentum value. You can't increase momentum over your max. If you are at your max and a move gives you an option to increase your momentum, you can't take advantage of that benefit or give it to other people. Oh. Suffering negative momentum. When your momentum is negative, less than 0, and it matches the number rolled on your action die, you must suffer negative momentum. Your action die is canceled for the purposes of tallying your action score. Sorry, I just went on a political... Of course. You can't have it. Yeah, it's not canceling, it's consequences. Okay, you can still check the success of your move by comparing your stat plus any adds to the challenge die, but you won't have your action die to help you. Wow. Yeah. For example, your momentum is -4 and you roll a 4 on your action die. The action die is canceled and not included in the tally for the action score, leaving only the stat and adds. To make matters worse, if your action die is canceled, you can't take a bonus from an asset ability triggered by that die. For example, if an ability is enabled by a prompt, such as if you roll a 6 on your action die, you won't gain that benefit of the canceled die. But if an asset forces a penalty for a specific action die value, such as stopping an ongoing power when you roll a 1, that outcome stands. Oh, no way. Oh, that was probably an Ironsworn too, but that seems unfair. In other words, nothing good comes of suffering negative momentum. You only suffer negative momentum when the number on the action die matches the negative momentum value. Otherwise, it has no effect. Minimum momentum. Your momentum cannot drop lower than -6. If you must lose momentum and your momentum is already at its minimum, the lose momentum move will prompt you to apply the cost in some other way. This might include reducing your condition meters, health, spirit supply, or suffering a setback in one of your current quests or challenges. Oh, yeah. Tracking momentum between sessions. Momentum is not reset between sessions. When you are finished playing, make note of your current momentum value. When you return to Starforged, begin play again with your momentum meter set to that value. This also applies to the other meters on your character sheet, such as your condition meters, and you are putting your story on pause and will return your character to the same state you left them, for better or for worse. And progress tracks. A progress track measures your headway. We'll get to this, but this would be a great add-on for the Kickstarter. Is I was actually going to get some blank die and I was going to just mark with a Sharpie or whatever and do the ticks on there. So you have a blank side, you have 1 tick, 2 tick, 3 tick, and then you can use the other sides for you just have it so you can actually have it on a dashboard and just flip it around. That would be cool. You do like a 6-sided die with those on it. And you could also do one of the sides all black, so it could be actually your villain track on your progress as well. Anyhow, I've been meaning to do that for Ironsworn, but I haven't gotten around to it. So your progress track measures your headway against a goal or obstacle and is used to resolve whether you ultimately succeed or fail against the challenge. When you swear an iron vow, a progress track represents the challenges you overcome on your way to achieving your goal. When you undertake an expedition, a progress track represents how favorable the journey has been. When you make a connection, a progress track represents the evolution of that friendship. When you enter a fray, a progress track represents your advantage as you attempt to achieve your objective. Progress tracks are drawn as a row of 10 boxes which you fill in or mark as you advance towards your goal. When you initiate a challenge, these boxes are empty. And I actually, if you look back at my Ironsworn playthrough, I actually ended up creating just blank lines that on a sheet, and then I just cut them into separate progress tracks so that I could have them at the table, and then I used dice on top of them to mark how far I had gotten. But you can also just keep a single sheet and just copy it out and do it that way too. So challenge ranks. When you create a progress track, give the challenge a rank. In increasing order of severity, the ranks are troublesome, dangerous, formidable, extreme, and epic. Ranks help gauge the difficulty of a challenge. More importantly, they are a measure of its complexity. Higher ranked challenges will require more focus, more steps to complete, and more time, both in the imagined world and at the table. Troublesome is used for simple challenges. Dangerous is a typical challenge. Formidable is an intimidating challenge or a formidable challenge. Epic and extreme challenges require great effort and luck to overcome. Important NPCs can be given a rank to help gauge their relative scale, power, and abilities. If you are undertaking a quest to defeat an NPC, facing an NPC in a fight, or establishing an NPC as a connection, their rank is considered along with the other aspects of the situation and goal. I don't remember that from Ironsworn. It might have been in there, but I've forgotten it. When choosing a challenge rank, you should also consider how well your character is positioned. If circumstances give you an unusual advantage or disadvantage, nudge the rank up and down appropriately. For example, if you enter the fray weaponless and facing armed foes, you would raise the rank of your objective to reflect that disparity. If you secured the aid of a local scout before you undertake an expedition, you could lower the rank of the journey to represent their help. And then this page gives you an example of the ticks down at the bottom. So marking progress. Once you initiate a progress track, you make specific moves to advance towards that goal. Then these moves reward you with an opportunity to mark progress on the progress track for that challenge. For example, as you achieve victories on your path to fulfilling a vow, you reach a milestone and mark progress. And then it gives you an example of reaching a milestone. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to sneeze or not. So reach a milestone, and this is a move. When you make headway on your quest by doing any of the following: overcoming a critical obstacle, gaining meaningful insight, completing a perilous expedition, acquiring a crucial item or resource, earning a vital support, defeating a notable foe, you may mark progress per the rank of the vow. Similarly, you mark progress on a journey when you undertake an expedition and reach a waypoint. For a connection, you mark progress as you develop your relationship. In a fight, you make moves such as strike or gain ground to mark progress against your objectives. These are incremental moves. These incremental moves let you amass advantages to have the best chance of success when you are ready to resolve the challenge. How you mark progress. Each box in a progress track is filled with lines called ticks. A full box consists of 4 ticks in a star-shaped pattern. When a move prompts you to mark progress, check the rank of the challenge and fill the appropriate number of boxes or ticks per the illustration below. The boxes in a track are filled progressively from left to right. Although you could fill it out any way you want. But see, this is an example. So there's basically these 3 sides, and then you'd have you could have a blank side, and then you could have a full side. I don't remember what this. I had a plan for the other side. What was it? No, it is. Yeah. No. It would be the other side. So you one tick, two tick, three tick, four tick, and then blank, and then solid, and then you could use that. Like if you had just a regular white six-sided die or something, and then you had those on the sides, you could use those on your dashboard. Yeah, that's what it is. Sorry, I got confused by the fact that there wasn't a three tick on there. Anyhow. So yeah, if it's a troublesome thing on your progress, you get 3 full boxes each time you make progress. But for epic, you only get 1 tick. So man, oh man, it takes a while, right? So stacking progress. If a move prompts you to mark progress, you have an asset which also rewards you with progress for that action, you may mark progress again. In other words, progress stacks. Every instance of mark progress earned with the same action allows you to mark the appropriate number of boxes or ticks per the rank of the challenge. For example, you undertake an expedition across the wind-blasted terrain of the desert planet Shirako, and it would be a hot wind, or else it's shaped like a Volkswagen. You have given the expedition a rank of dangerous, and you are riding your hoverbike support vehicle asset. You make the move for the first segment of the expedition and roll a strong hit with a match. Ooh, wow. Per the undertake an expedition move, you mark progress on a strong hit. Your hoverbike also has an ability which prompts you to mark progress when you score a strong hit with a match on an expedition. Between the move and the asset, that's 2 instances of mark progress for this action. When you mark progress against a dangerous challenge, you normally mark 2 boxes. Since you can mark progress again for this move, you mark a total 4 boxes total. Your trusty hoverbike has sped you along on this expedition. In addition, if a move or asset prompts you to mark progress twice, do so. For example, when you strike and score a hit, you may mark progress twice against your objective for that fight. Any additional instances of mark progress gained through an asset ability stack on top of that reward. So you'd mark it twice and then you would mark 1 more. Managing progress tracks. Your character sheet includes a progress track for your background vow, which is an epic vow you define when you create your character. You can create and mark other progress tracks in your journal on notepaper or using the worksheets available at ironswornrpg.com. Some progress tracks, it's interesting that's oh, it is linked. Oh, never mind. I was going to make a thing about it not being linked. In print, links should be underlined. Like it said before, yeah, so undertake an expedition here is linked and it's also underlined. Yeah, that's an old internet stylistic thing before style sheets and colors and all. And well, I guess there were colors, but links were always underlined in print. Or no, I'm sorry. I'm being dumb. They weren't ever linked. The style in print was to put angle brackets around it. And I've actually had that argument with people before, is that it became a common practice to put an underline under links in a print document that wasn't linked. But it actually should have been, according to the RFC, it would be angle brackets. The underline was a tool used online in a browser to mark that it was a linked document. But you wouldn't do that on an unlinked URL. So I don't know. I mean, you could put angle brackets around it or something like that. Anyhow. Some progress tracks, such as a combat track or low-ranked expedition track, might only be needed to resolve a scene or two, but most progress tracks will persist across sessions. For example, if you have a high-ranked connection you visit infrequently, their progress track may remain incomplete for the bulk of your campaign. If you are playing Starforged with a digital tool, progress tracks are likely built into the interface, or you can use whatever approach works for you to emulate boxes and ticks. Progress moves. Okay, there are several key moves called progress moves, which utilize progress tracks to resolve the outcome of a challenge. Of the outcome of challenge. That should be resolve the outcome of a challenge or outcome of challenges. Anyhow, for example, to see how you fare at the end of your expedition, you make the finish an expedition move. This label identifies a move as a progress move, which says progress move. A progress move uses a progress roll instead of an action roll. See the next page for how that works. Progress rolls. You don't make an action roll when you make a progress move. Instead, you tally the number of fully ticked progress boxes, those with 4 ticks, and this is your progress score. Then roll your challenge die, not your action die, and compare your progress score to the value of the dice. This is called a progress roll. Important. It is not necessary to fill your progress track before making your progress move. When deciding whether to make a progress move, you need to weigh the chance of success against the risk of continuing to make preparatory moves. As with an action roll, if your progress score beats the challenge dice, it's a strong hit. If you beat one of the challenge dice, it's a weak hit. If you fail to beat either die, it's a miss. The progress move will tell you how to resolve the challenge based on the outcome of your roll. In the example below, you compare your progress score of 5 to your challenge die when making your progress move. The 6th progress box is only partially filled in and does not count toward the progress score. Oh, yeah. Momentum and progress rolls. Momentum is ignored when you make a progress move. You cannot burn momentum on a progress roll, and you do not suffer negative momentum. Sharing progress tracks with allies. When you and your allies are working together to resolve a challenge, a quest, expedition, connection, or fight, you share a progress track and mark progress together. This is called a shared challenge. When you make a progress move for a shared challenge, only one of you rolls the dice. The result will stand for the group. If you are successful as you make a progress move to fulfill your vow, forge a bond, or finish an expedition, anyone who was part of the shared challenge earns a legacy reward and marks the appropriate legacy track. And see the next page for how that works. That's basically, so when you finish a progress track, you get an advancement, basically. And here are the examples of the legacy tracks. And this is slightly different from Ironsworn. So the legacy tracks are a special type of progress tracks that show the evolution of your character. There are 3 legacy tracks on your character sheet: quests, bonds, and discoveries. When you begin to play with a new character, these tracks are empty. As you complete quests, form bonds, make discoveries, you advance along these tracks and make by marking ticks and filling boxes. For each filled box, you earn experience to spend on new assets or asset upgrades. And you can actually see there's 2 small boxes at the bottom of those progress tracks, and it's actually 2 experience points that you can spend. It'll explain it later, but some things cost 3, some things only cost 2. So let's see. Legacy tracks are also an abstract representation of your victories. The network of people you rely on, your understanding of the perils of the forge, and the funds and resources you can bring to bear. As you advance along the tracks, envision how your character's reputation grows. Marking legacy rewards. So this is a closer view of the 2 little boxes on the bottom of those. In recognition of significant achievements, moves, and assets abilities will prompt you to mark ticks or fill boxes in one or more of your legacy tracks. This is called a legacy reward. For example, if you make a discovery, you earn 2 ticks on your discovery's legacy track. Legacy tracks are not given a rank, but are otherwise treated the same as a standard progress tracks. It takes 4 ticks to fill a box. So they're epic is basically what it is. So you need to do each tick. Gaining experience. When you fill a legacy track box, make the advance move for some well-earned experience. Per that move, you take 2 experience for each newly filled legacy box. The 2 small experience counters attached to the legacy track boxes each represent 1 potential experience. When you fill a legacy track box and advance, that experience is ready to spend. I think in Ironsworn, didn't you you ticked the experience when it was ready to spend, and then you filled it in when you spent it? But this is different, so it's ready to spend when the box is full. So you spend earned experience to gain or upgrade. I was thinking that wasn't clearer, but I think it actually is clearer. You can expend the experience if the box is full. Why fiddle around with like half marking that? So I think that's a positive. I think that changed, and I think that makes more sense. Anyhow, so you spend earned experience to gain or upgrade assets, including new modules for your ship, supports vehicles, companions, paths, and deeds. And these assets add new options for your character and bolster your actions in specific circumstances. Per the advance move, it costs 2 experience to upgrade an existing asset and 3 experience to buy a new asset. Once you spend experience, make a mark to fill those experience counters. Each filled counter represents 1 spent experience. And you fill the legacy boxes completely from left to right. If you have a partially filled box and are given a legacy reward which prompts you to fill 1 or more boxes, convert the rewards to ticks. For example, 2 boxes is 8 ticks. Then fill the incomplete box first. Okay. That sounds confusing, but it wouldn't be in practice, I don't think. So you roll against a legacy track. This is basically retiring, right? If a move prompts you to make a test against a legacy track, treat it. Oh no, this is just your reputation, right? Okay, so if a move prompts you to make a test against a legacy track, treat it as a standard progress roll. Tally the number of filled boxes on the track for your progress score. Roll your challenge die and compare the progress score with the challenge die. As with a progress roll, momentum is ignored. It doesn't really tell you why you would do that, but it seems like it would make sense. Like, I mean, if you're testing your reputation. Clearing a legacy track. When you advance after filling all 10 boxes on a legacy track, you are not necessarily at the end of the path of that character, or end of that path for your character. As noted in the advance move, if your life of adventure and peril continues after filling a legacy track, you may erase all filled boxes and experience counters and resume marking legacy rewards in the now empty track. When you clear the track, mark the +10 bubble. Oh, that's what that is. I saw that on the character card, and I like glossed over it, but there is at the end of the track there's a little box that's +10. And you mark that in the top corner. This is your reminder to treat the value of the tracks as +10 if you ever make a progress roll against it. But yeah, I don't know. That seems weird to me. Like it seems almost like it would almost be more fun to like if you zeroed it out, that you've reached a new plateau. And you're starting, you're becoming a novice again at a new level. You know what I mean? How difficulty like in an MMO or whatever, you go to a new area and you're a complete noob in that new area. It seems almost like you wouldn't get the advantage of that plus 10. I don't know. That's just me. Like you, but you still have all of the things that you got from your experience, right? So you'd have your assets and your upgrades and all that, but your new reputation or whatever is as a newbie at this new echelon. I don't know. That's interesting to think about. But yeah, so you could actually have a plus 10 on quests. Um, how would you fail though? Okay, that seems weird to me. Um, Earning experience on a cleared track. Okay, because a completed legacy track represents a character nearing the height of their potential, you earn experience at a slower rate on that cleared track. Take one experience for each filled legacy track box instead of two. Whoa! Continuing a legacy. When your character's time as Ironsworn is done, whether through retirement or more dire circumstances, you may pass on your legacy to a new character using the Continue a Legacy move. Through this move, you will roll against each of the legacy tracks to see how your achievements and struggles echo through time. So that's pretty cool. The experience becoming harder is that's rough, man. Condition meters. So this is the health, spirit, and supply on the other side of the character sheet. Along the right side of your character sheet are the three condition meters: health, spirit, and supply. These measure your character's readiness and status. As with the momentum meter, you can use a paperclip or a token to mark the current values. I created for my purposes, what I did is I just created a little dashboard on paper, and I used dice, a six-sided die for each of those. And I just took the dice off if it was zero and then up to five. I'd also like to see that was another thing I was going to use. I was going to use blank dice and write 0 plus 1 through 5 on a six-sided die, and use that. But you do you. Oh yeah, and I was thinking also. I remember in the playtest for Starforged that I was thinking like 3D printing the ticks for the progress boxes, so you could actually have like a circle with one tick, two tick, three tick, four tick, and you could use those. So you could 3D print your own little things out as well. So let's see. Health represents your current physical condition and stamina, ranked 0 to 5. Health is reduced when you endure harm and increased when you rest and receive care through moves such as heal. If you are at 0 health, scoring a miss when you endure harm puts you at a risk of suffering an impact or dying. Spirit is your current morale and mental state, marked 0 to 5. Spirit is reduced when you endure stress. It is increased when you find comfort in companionship. Conan. Or relaxed moments through moves such as hearten. If you are at 0 spirit, scoring a miss when you endure stress puts you at a risk of suffering an impact or falling into desolation. But you get to meet Smog. Okay, and supply is the third one. Is an abstract representation of your preparedness, including food, water, fuel, ammo, equipment, cargo, money, and general upkeep. Supply is ranked 0 to 5, is decreased when you make the sacrifice resource move, and is increased. I thought that was a cat, but it wasn't. I don't know what that was. I'm being haunted. And is increased when you resupply to fortify your provisions and readiness. If you need to know if you have a specific item or resource at hand, make the check your gear move. When you sacrifice resources and your supply falls to 0, you must mark unprepared. as a status. Supply and allies, or an impact, I mean. Supplies and allies. If you are playing with others, the supply meter represents the shared resource among your party. You and your allies use the same supply value when you travel together. If any of you make a move to increase supply or suffer the result of an outcome that forces you to sacrifice resources, each of you adjust your supply meter accordingly. If anyone must mark unprepared, everyone marks unprepared. Seems like you just use a shared, like one person could be the bank and mark it on their sheet instead of having everybody mark it. But I suppose then it's not easy preference. I don't know. Asset condition meters. So assets can have meters on them as well. So Starship would have integrity meter on the bottom there to measure its condition. When the vehicle faces a damaging situation, make the withstand damage move. To get a vehicle back up to speed, make the repair move. Companion assets have a health meter, which is reduced when you make the companion takes a hit move. Their health is increased through the heal move, or when you treat them or obtain treatment, using the repair move for mechanical companions. Some assets have a unique condition meter for a specialized resource. For example, if you are a firebrand, you have a fire meter and tap into that inner source to unleash destructive energies. To track the value of a conditioned meter or an asset, use a paperclip or token, or you can set a 6-sided die on top of the card and rotate it to show the current value. It's interesting that it says or use the die to rotate to the value, but it doesn't say that for the character sheet. Yeah, anyhow, I mean, that's what I ended up doing. I ended up just creating a different dashboard. Action rolls and condition meters. Some moves prompt you to make an action roll using the value of your condition meter instead of a stat. For example, when you check your gear, the move tells you to roll plus supply. When you see an action framed as roll plus condition meter, use the value of the meter in your action roll as if it were a stat. Some assets allow you to use the value of a condition meter as an add for your action roll, phrased as add plus condition meter. This is a boost to your action score in addition to your stat, rather than a replacement for the stat. And the various impacts. As you suffer hardship and setbacks in your quest, you may need to mark impacts. These represent temporary, long-term, and permanent disadvantages. Moves will tell you when to mark an impact or may give you a choice. Some impacts can be cleared by taking the time to recover. Others will forever become a part of your character. You can only use an eye twice. I mean, you can only lose one eye once, but you can lose an eye twice. There are several categories of impacts: misfortunes, vehicle troubles, burdens, and lasting effects. Impacts have a mechanical effect by reducing your maximum momentum. Each marked impact reduces your maximum momentum, normally 10, by 1. For example, if you have 3 marked impacts, your maximum momentum is 7. Impacts also reduce your momentum reset as follows. If you have 1 marked impact, your momentum reset is +1. We already read this under momentum. Misfortunes. Wounded. Wounded may be marked when you are at 0 health and fail to endure harm. You are severely injured. Shaken, but not stirred, may be marked when you are at 0 spirit and fail and endure stress. You are despairing or distraught. Unprepared is marked when you sacrifice resources and are reduced to 0 supply. You are not properly equipped for the dangers of the forge. You're running on gas. What was the... Oh, man. Out of gas? That's the episode. Out of gas. In Firefly. You rely on luck. With all impacts, misfortunes affect your maximum momentum and momentum reset. In addition, if you are wounded, shaken, or unprepared, you cannot increase the associated meter. I mean, it gets bad sometimes. If you are wounded, you cannot increase health. If you are shaken, you cannot increase spirit. If you are unprepared, you cannot increase supply. If a move gives you an opportunity to raise your health, spirit, or supply while the associated misfortune is marked, you can't take that option. You must clear the impact before removing the related condition meter. Wounded, shaken, or unprepared can be cleared when you succeed on an appropriate recover move. For example, scoring a hit on the heal move can clear the wounded impact. Once you clear the misfortune, you restore your maximum momentum and momentum reset, and you can once again increase the associated meter through moves. Once you clear the misfortune, you restore your maximum momentum and momentum reset. It's not that you restore it completely, though. I mean, you recover that 1 point, because if you have others, it doesn't restore at all. Yeah. Vehicle troubles. Battered may be marked when your vehicle is at 0 integrity and you got a ship going down in flames. You fail to withstand damage. Your vehicle is barely holding together. Cursed may be marked when your command vehicle starship asset is at 0 integrity and you fail to withstand damage. This is a permanent impact. Your ship will never be quite right again. Wow. You can get cursed? Vehicle troubles are linked to a specific vehicle. Either your command vehicle asset or a support vehicle asset. These impacts, so your spaceship or like your buggy or whatever, these impacts are only a factor when you are piloting or aboard that vehicle. Otherwise, you do not count. They do not count as an impact, and do not affect your maximum. Oh, excuse me. Do not affect your maximum momentum and momentum reset. But they do when you're on board? Yeah, interesting. Wow, okay. Battered can be overcome when you successfully repair that vehicle and clear the trouble. Until you do so, you cannot raise the vehicle's integrity. Cursed is, or there should be a period after integrity there. Cannot raise the vehicle's integrity. Period. Cursed is a permanent impact and will forever plague your starship. To learn more about vehicle assets, blah blah blah. Don't need to read that yet. Okay, burdens. Doomed. Buh. Is marked when you face death and return from death's door with a soul-bound quest. Tormented is marked when you face desolation, gain visions of a distressing future, and undertake a quest to prevent that dire fate. Indebted is marked when overcome destruction. Is marked when you overcome destruction. There should be a U there. To replace what was lost and repay the debt, you will take on a duty-bound quest. Burdens are a result of life-changing experiences that leave you bound to new vows. Clearing a burden can only be accomplished by resolving the quest. While you are doomed, tormented, or indebted, or all of the above, you should envision the physical and emotional manifestations of these impacts. You have seen what lies beyond death, suffered visions of your greatest fears, or barely escaped the destruction of your prized space starship. How do these events change you? What will you do to set things right? I don't remember those from Ironsworn. I think those are new. Lasting effects. Permanently harmed may be marked when you are at 0 health and fail to endure harm. You have suffered a wound which you must reckon with, such as the loss of an eye or hand. Or you bear physical scars, which are a constant reminder of a harrowing incident. Traumatized may be marked when you are at 0 spirit and fail to endure stress. Your experiences have left you emotionally and mentally scarred. Lasting effects are permanent. They forever impact your character through the momentum adjustment and, more importantly, through the negative impact of being permanently harmed or traumatized. What? No therapy? No Bacta tanks? You should factor this impact into how you perform moves and how you interact with the world. Envision the nature of the lasting effect. You may have physical, emotional, or mental factors you must take into account. Your outlook may change. Your goals and methods may change. How others behave towards you may change. Nice. Marking impacts. To mark an impact on your character sheet, fill the appropriate bubble. Once an impact is marked, it cannot be marked again unless it is cleared. Okay. If a move gives you a chance to choose an impact in place of a harsher outcome, you cannot take that option if it is already marked. Well, that makes sense. Oh, there's also other impacts, so you could invent other stuff. Wow. I wonder what those would be. Tracking vehicle impacts. Battered or cursed might apply to multiple vehicles, but are only relevant when you are aboard a vehicle with an impact. If a vehicle is battered or cursed, mark that impact on the asset card. When you go aboard, you can also mark it on your character sheet under the vehicle troubles as a reminder. Oh, and it says current vehicle to help you remember that. Okay. If you are playing with others, a vehicle impact affects everyone on the vehicle, regardless of who owns or manages the asset. Adjusting momentum. Once you mark an impact, you adjust your maximum momentum and momentum reset. Other impacts. Certain assets offer abilities at the cost of counting as an impact for your character. For example, the Oathbreaker asset strengthens your resolve as you pursue a quest for redemption, but counts as an impact until you fulfill that vow. Oh, there you go. Okay. You can, so like the One Ring causes you to have an impact as long as you're carrying it. As long as you are a ring bearer. You can mark these on the other impact section of your character sheet. They contribute as normal to your maximum momentum and momentum research. Oh, I'm getting close. I'm gonna probably call it soon. The end of this chapter, I'll go ahead and call it, and then we'll try again another time. So let's go ahead and assets. Oh, we have to get to page 66? Is that true? Yeah, so I may go to I may only go to equipment, and then we'll go from there in the next one. But so assets are a key component of your character. They represent your background, skills, traits, companions, and resources. They have abilities which give you additional options and bonuses when making a move, or sometimes act as their own self-contained moves. When you create your character, you select your starting assets and it's probably two of them again, right? As you fill boxes on your legacy track, you advance to gain experience. This experience is spent to gain new assets or upgrade current assets. Starforged assets are formatted as printable or pre-printed cards. Put them alongside your character sheet for easy reference. It's interesting that in the Kickstarter, the asset cards you can't get them as an add-on to like a digital. Like it would. Like I actually got the asset cards and the delve cards, even though I have everything else digitally for Ironsworn. It would be nice to be able to select the asset cards as a physical reward while still getting everything else digitally. But I didn't see that option in the Kickstarter. Maybe afterwards. So there's the asset name. There's the type of asset. Assets include a default ability, which is the first one, and then you can expend experience points to acquire the additional ones. Usually there's 3 of them. Some asset abilities apply to a variety of moves. This is usually phrased as when you make a move to blank. However, this flexibility does not include progress moves. Unless an asset specifically defines a benefit for a progress move, you cannot use an ability when making a progress roll. Asset types. Oh, yeah. Here are the 6 asset types. Show me the money. Show me what I can get. What can I win? What can I win? These are 6 types of assets: command vehicle, modules, support vehicles, paths, companions, and deeds. So a command vehicle is a starship. interstellar starship is default asset for your character, taken when you begin your campaign. Oh, so maybe there's three. Are there I wonder, do you get your command vehicle in addition to two other assets? If you are playing with others, this is a shared asset. Each of you may use the starship's ability while aboard the craft. The command vehicle has an integrity meter and starts at 5, and when your starship takes a hit, make a withstand damage move to see what happens. And your asset, of course, can be upgraded as well. Modules. Modules are attached to your starship and offer additional options and advantages when aboard that vehicle. As with the ship itself, these can benefit any ally. However, modules are acquired and managed by a single character. When you withstand damage and score a miss, you can mark a module as broken to offset potential danger to your command vehicle. A broken module cannot be used until you successfully repair it. So there's an extra "it" there. Support vehicles like a shuttle. Support vehicles complement your command vehicle for planetside or short-range operations. If you are playing with others, one of you might serve as the pilot or owner of a support vehicle, but anyone on board can use its abilities as appropriate to the situation. So you're forced to share your support vehicle. Inara is forced to allow Mal onto her shuttle. As the command vehicle, your support vehicles have integrity meters. The maximum integrity varies depending on the type of vehicle. When a support vehicle faces a damaging situation or environment, you must withstand damage to see how it fares. And then paths are your background, interests, training, skills, powers, and key equipment. They provide mechanical and narrative advantages, but also reflect but also reflect who you are and how you interact with the world. When you create your character in the next chapter, you'll select at least 2 paths to get started. Some paths represent your skill with a signature weapon, style, or piece of equipment. If you see a requirement such as at the top of an asset card, such as if you wield a bladed weapon, the asset is not usable without that item. So you do get 2. Anyhow, so companions. Companions are NPC helpers. When you gain a companion, give them a name and envision their appearance and personality. Companions utilize a health meter which can be reduced if an outcome puts them in harm's way. And when your companion faces harm, make the companion takes a hit move. When their health is at 0, they are in danger of being killed or destroyed. Deeds. Deeds represent notable achievement and situations of your story. Okay, that's cool. And how these events change your character. Deeds have a requirement listed at the top of the card, phrased as once you blank. So once you fill 4 boxes on your Bond's legacy track for Homesteader. That sounds suspiciously like Settlements, which was an expansion for Ironsworn. Anyhow. So you may not spend experience to acquire a deed until you fulfill the requirement. I mean, a settlement is basically just a starship with modules, right? So you'd get a settlement and then get modules for it. Sort of maybe a combination of deeds and that. Interesting. Assets and the fiction. Assets offer both mechanical and narrative advantages. For example, if you have the healer path, you benefit from that asset's abilities as you make moves to treat others, diagnose illnesses, and study biological remains. It also provides justification to take actions other characters would not be capable of, such as advanced treatment techniques. But even when you aren't making moves, the healer path influences your character's interests, manners, and opportunities. In a perilous galaxy where technology has limitations and resources are scarce, how does this valued expertise affect your relationships and the nature of their quests? For example, does the town kidnap your healer? and then accuse the other person of being a witch. How is it reflected in your personality and ambitions? Some assets will be more influential than others in your character concept, but all of them contribute to how you envision your approaches and the situations you encounter. Acquiring and upgrading assets. When you create your character in the next chapter, you will take your starship and choose 3 other assets. Whoa, cool. Then that answers that question. So you're actually basically getting 4 assets to start with, as opposed to Ironsworn where you got 2. Then, as you successfully overcome challenges and mark progress on your legacy track, you gain experience. You earn experience. This experience is spent to purchase or upgrade assets through the advance move. Buying an asset. We've actually covered this already, but buying a new asset costs 3. If you're playing with others, you should avoid picking the same asset as another player. This will help give each character their own capabilities and flavor. That makes sense. Upgrading an asset, and also if you only have 1 set of cards. Upgrading an asset. All assets include 3 abilities. The first will be filled in when you purchase the asset. Upgrading an asset to claim the second or third ability costs 2 experience each. When you spend experience to upgrade an asset, fill in the dot on your asset card to show the acquired ability. The second and third abilities may be selected in any order. Building a story through assets. When you can spend experience when it is earned, or save it for future use. Either way, you should look to the fiction to give context and justification for your new abilities and resources. You can guide your story towards an asset you would like to purchase or upgrade, or let your selection of assets flow naturally from your character's goals and the situations you encounter. Assets can even serve as the focus of a new vow, giving you a tangible objective or reward for undertaking a quest. And I actually did that when I played Ironsworn. I sort of had a plan in my mind, and I took a vow that would lead me towards a different asset, acquiring a different asset, and I ended up not doing that. So that was interesting. So, I mean, plans change, obviously, but so I did something. I sort of had an idea of what assets I wanted, and then I created a narrative description of how I was going to get there. And so assets can even serve as the focus of, I already read that. Perhaps you gain a new snub fighter by completing a quest in the service of a shipbuilder, or earn membership as a sanctioned trader in the Merchants Guild. Envisioning how your new abilities connect to your sworn quests and experiences gives them additional significance and context. They will be a reminder of the paths taken and not taken, the challenges overcome, and the bonds formed. Let's see, how much farther do we got? Am I gonna make that 66? Maybe I'll keep going. I think I might keep going until the next chapter. It's a few pages. It's quite a few pages, but yeah, let's keep going. So equipment, as noted earlier, your supply meter is an abstract representation of your overall readiness. You are otherwise armored, and equipped as appropriate to your vision of your character. Some assets can make specific equipment more relevant to your character. If you're a gearhead, you probably envision yourself always having a toolkit to the ready. Bye, kitty. And combat-centric assets such as gunner represent your expertise in a particular weapon or fighting style. These tools reinforce your character's approaches or character's approach and skills. Other equipment provides a narrative benefit. It enables you to make moves where that gear is important, or perhaps allows you to avoid the risky nature of a move altogether. You must make your way down a steep rock face on a barren desert planet. Without assistance, you'd make the face danger move to see what happens. If you had rope, the climb is not particularly risky or uncertain. In that case, you can skip the move and just envision the result. Make note of equipment at whatever level of detail you like, but don't fuss over it. During the character creation exercise, you'll receive your Spacer Kit, which includes fundamental gear for exploring a perilous galaxy. If you ever need to know if you have a specific helpful item, you can make the check your gear move. That's actually check your gear is from Delve for Ironsworn, so it is really interesting to see how the addition of Delve on Ironsworn has informed Starforged as a full thing. Depicting technology in the Forge. By default, life in the Forge is a retro future. It is the future as viewed through the lens of what we imagined 2 or 3 decades ago instead of what we can envision today. It is also a resource-scarce future, with much of your people's knowledge and resources lost following the cataclysm that drove you to the Forge. That said, the technology you bring to bear or resist is flexible to how you envision the nature of the setting. A gun in your version of the Forge might be a blaster that fires superheated plasma or an old-fashioned slug thrower. Your setting might suffer from class disparity with advanced tech under the control of the wealthy and powerful, while everyone else is forced to make do with primitive resources. The truths you define for the Forge in the next chapter help frame the nature of equipment and tech in your campaign. And oracles. In Starforged, an oracle is anything that generates random results to help determine the outcome of a move, the details of a location or characters, or a narrative event. In solo or co-op games, oracles help answer questions, flesh out your setting, and introduce drama and surprises. In guided play, the guide can use oracles for their own inspiration and answers. Starforged includes various oracle tables, and it was funny when Shawn Tomkin was actually tweeting out that he went a bit overboard apparently in the oracle tables, but that's fine with me. And so you can use those to generate random results. Some moves include their own tables. There are also a large variety of random tables starting on page 126, which can help provide inspiration for story events, reveal locations, generate characters, creatures, and guide the actions of others in your world. Rolling the oracle dice. Whenever you are prompted to generate a result between 1 and 100, roll 2 10-sided dice. This is an oracle roll. Using physical dice, there are 2 common methods for generating the 1 to 100 result. You can roll a set of d10s, which include 10 digits on the faces of one of those dice. So 10, 20, 30, 40. You can use 2 tins of different colors and decide before rolling which represents the tins digit and which is the units. Either way, you might want to use a unique set of dice for oracle rolls shared by everyone at the table. And these dice will divine your fate and reveal the mysteries of the galaxy. So it's worth giving them special treatment. It'd be cool to have some sparkly space ones, like Nebula. Oracle tables in moves. Some moves may prompt you to roll on an oracle table, generating a result between 1 and 100 to help resolve the outcome of that move. For example, and there's a space missing after the comma, example, comma, space. The Endure Stress table reveals your fate when you fail to resist a mental hardship. Will you carry on, or will this crisis get the best of you? Endure Stress. When you face mental strain, shock, or despair, suffer -1 spirit for minor stress, -2 for serious stress, or 3 for major stress. If your spirit is 0, lose momentum equal to any remaining stress. Then, if your spirit is 0, or you choose to resist the stress, roll plus spirit or plus heart, whichever is higher. On a strong hit, choose 1. Shake it off. If you are not shaken, take +1 spirit. Embrace the darkness, take +1 momentum. On a weak hit, if you are not shaken, you may lose momentum, -1, in exchange for +1 spirit. Otherwise, press on. On a miss, it's worse than you thought. Suffer an additional -1 spirit or lose momentum, -2. If your spirit is 0, you must also mark shaken or traumatized or roll on the table below. And here's the oracle. 1 to 10, you're overwhelmed and you need to do the move Face Desolation. 11 to 25, you give up and you forsake your vow. 26 to 50, you give in to fear or compulsion and act against your better instincts. And 51 to 100, you persevere. If a move tells you to roll or choose on an oracle table, you decide whether to pick the most interesting or appropriate result, or if you roll to see what happens. Otherwise, you have no choice. You must cast your fate to the stars and roll the oracle die. Unless your action rolls, Unlike your action rolls, unless a specific oracle table indicates otherwise, rolling a match on an oracle roll has no narrative or mechanical significance. Which actually, it's something that I did in when I came up with the Fate Oracle based on the Recluse engine. Is that on an oracle, if you get doubles, then it means that some presupposition is wrong, like something you assumed about the question you're asking is incorrect. It might be interesting to play with that. Some people might be interested in playing that, where it actually, the match, like if you roll 2 8s, that it means that whatever question you're asking, there's some assumption you've made that's wrong, that made you ask that question. Anyhow, that's a thing to consider. Asking the oracle. If you are playing solo or co-op, I keep trying to say cola. I don't know why. You can make the Ask the Oracle move shown below to help guide your campaign and trigger ideas when you need to know what happens next. The most basic function is to answer a yes or no question. Hi. You're going? Okay, bye-bye. Combined with your own instincts and creativity, this move and other random prompts can push your... Get it! Can push your story in surprising and exciting directions. Ask the Oracle. When you seek to resolve questions, discover details, reveal locations, determine how other characters respond, or trigger encounters or events, you may draw a conclusion, decide the answer based on the most interesting and obvious result, spark an idea, use an oracle table or other random prompt, ask a yes-no question, decide the odds of a yes and roll on the table below to check your answer, pick 2, envision 2 options, rate 1 as likely, and roll on the table below to see if it is true. If not, it is the other. That's a good one. So odds, almost certain 11 or greater, likely 26. Basically, it's giving you a percentage of how likely a thing is, and then you're rolling against that as a challenge. On a match, an extreme result or twist has occurred. Okay, hold on. Unlike a match on an oracle roll. You know what? On page 57, it should actually say, rolling a match on an oracle table has no narrative or mechanical significance. Right? No, because that's a table. So it says it has no narrative or mechanical significance, but then on the very next page, it says, on a match, an extreme result or twist has occurred. So that seems contradictory. Anyhow, that's an example of what I was talking about. So on a match, an extreme result or a twist, like something unexpected has happened. If you are playing with a guide, they are the oracle. When you see a prompt to ask the oracle, turn to your guide. The guide can use random tools and creative prompts to come up with the answers. They may even turn the question back to you, or ask you to roll on an oracle table yourself. Keep in mind that even when playing with a guide, the Starforged is about shared storytelling. Offer suggestions, talk it out. The guide is the final arbiter of what happens next, but everyone at the table should participate in building the world and creating the narrative of your campaign. A universe of oracles. The rulebook includes an array of oracle tables starting on page 126. You can use these oracles to answer questions about your setting, drive the narrative, and inspire dramatic events and revelations. Some oracles are for specific mundane questions to streamline play. What is the smuggler's name? Others provide more abstract results, which you interpret based on the current situation. What happens next? Perhaps most importantly, that section includes a variety of oracles to help you visualize locations as you explore the Forge, ranging from the nature of a star to the details of a planet-side settlement. The Starforged universe is meant to be discovered as you play, revealing new dangers and opportunities, and these oracles are your pole star for that journey. To learn more about generating locations through exploration, see page 62. And that's another thing from Delve, basically. I think, is that if we look at those tables, I bet they're like Delve cards. Other random generators, you can use whatever oracle you prefer, including those drawn from another game, online generators, or visual tools such as tarot cards. Assembling your personalized toolkit of oracles will help customize the tone and setting of the game to your preferences. Like doing bibliomancy. Get a book and flip to pages. Creating your own oracles. The Starforged play kit includes a blank oracle worksheet. Use this to create your own tables to better fit the preferences or highlight unique aspects of your campaign, and then share your creations online with other Starforged players. Yay! Trust your instincts. Random generators don't replace your own imagination and intuition. If it's interesting, dramatic, and pushes the story forward, make it happen. Too much reliance on random generators to answer questions about what happens next can kill the momentum of your game or make it feel disconnected and incoherent. Keep it moving. Ask a question. If an answer leaps to mind, go with it. If you're not sure, ask the oracle, then play. If you are playing as a guide, use oracles to forge a universe at the table. The character-driven quests help you and the other players build a story together without preparation. Anything that is not a protagonist, move, or asset has very little mechanical detail and can be introduced on the fly. You can even offload decisions to the other players, asking them to roll on a specific oracle and interpret the result. Navigating the Forge. The depiction of interstellar travel in Starforged is tied to the gameplay of the exploration moves. These moves help frame your journeys and encourage exploration and discovery. You can ignore the setting details described below and envision interstellar flight as you like. However, it works best if you use a similar approach, with faster than light travel undertaken in a series of individual segments. Think of your starship as a stone skipping across a vast galactic pond. That is a great sentence. Eidolon travel. Interstellar starships that travel the Forge, including your character's ship, are equipped with Eidolon drives, commonly referred to as E-drives. Or EDs? Erectile dysfunctions? Okay, maybe not EDs. Don't call it ED. These devices harness the turbulent forces of the Forge to propel vessels along selected paths at FTL speeds. Drifts and passages. Drifts are networks of Eidolon paths through the Forge. Spacers guide their ships along the gravitational currents, stellar winds, and fiery energies of the drifts like surfers on the crest of a wave. A plotted course along drifts is called a passage. Important locations in settled areas are usually connected by passages. But this navigational data is a valuable resource, often greedily held by those in power. Others must trailblaze their own paths. Beyond settled regions, potential passages are usually uncharted and unexplored. Even when following a passage, it is not simply a matter of flying from point A to point B. Piloting the drifts requires skilled navigation. Spacers must be on watch for navigational hazards and lurking foes. Worse yet, some say Eidolon travel weakens the fragile bonds of reality. Explorers tell stories of horrifying visions or visitations among the drifts. Spacers are superstitious folk and often employ wards and rituals to keep Eidolon's ghosts at bay. Anchorages. That dog barking is part of why I went on hiatus for so long. But also, there were... anyhow, there's always noise and drama. it kind of gets to me. Hopefully it's not too distracting. I apologize if it is. Anchorages. An e-drive can stay powered for a few hours at most and requires several hours to energize. Thus, long voyages are made in a series of FTL transits. Each segment of the journey ends at a waypoint, what is called an anchorage. Since powerful gravity wells are an ideal navigational target, anchorages are often near a large object such as a star or planet. Once emerging from the drifts at an anchorage, the ship slows while the e-drive is powered back up. You can sit back and enjoy the scenery during this layover or take a look at nearby locations. Wow, that's very Stargate universe, right? Going jump from jump. That's cool. Navigating the Forge. Seeing what's out there. When you pilot your starship on an interstellar journey through uncharted space, make the Undertaken Expedition move to see how you fare. Anchorages are waypoints that help define progress on that journey. When you emerge from Eidolon travel at an anchorage, envision the moment as your starship decelerates to sublight speeds. The hull rattles, warning tones beep, and sensor displays spring to life. Near objects. When traveling the Forge, you can simply envision the beautiful but mundane sights you encounter. A sky filled with the cold light of distant suns, clouds of stellar dust, barren planetoids drifting in their lonely orbits. If you want to give a segment of your travel additional focus, ask the Oracle and use the random prompts in Chapter 5, starting with the space sightings table. You might find a fiery star looming in your cockpit windows, a vibrant planet, a starship carrying a fellow traveler, or even a space-borne creature. The space sightings table may prompt you to roll twice or 3 times for multiple objects. These objects are near your starship. If you want to travel to a near object or get in a better position to observe it, your starship's main engines will carry you there in a matter of minutes. If you find something worthy of further exploration, you can explore a waypoint, and unusual locations such as a precursor vault or derelict might even warrant their own expedition. If you want to look deeper into the depths of an anchorage, roll on the space sighting table again and see if there's anything interesting far from your starship. Envision yourself studying scanner data and visual displays, peering through the Forge's stellar gases. This doesn't require a move unless you're under pressure. It's just a routine part of being a spacer. If you see something interesting at far range and want to check it out, it'll take a while. Sublight travel is ponderous. You're also diverting power from energizing the e-drive, so all told, the detour will cost about a day. For an explorer, this might be time well spent. For a spacer on an urgent mission, it's a needless distraction. Either way, unless you're dealing with something risky, this doesn't trigger a move. Point your ship in the right direction, envision the journey, and play to see what happens when you arrive. Out of range objects. Did I scare you? I scared one of the kitties when I moved. Anything beyond far range is out of range. Objects at this distance are of no concern. They are too far away to cause you trouble, and it would take too long to travel there using your main engines. Objects smaller and dimmer than a star are probably shrouded in the stellar muck and electromagnetic interference of the Forge anyway. Perhaps that's for the best. Some things are best left undiscovered. So here's near and far and out of range. The flow of play. Like most role-playing games, you play Starforged primarily from the perspective of your character. What are you doing? What are you trying to achieve? What opposition and challenges do you face? Your quest and the characters and situations you encounter will guide the fiction and the choices you make. When you have questions about what you find, how other characters in your setting respond, or what happens next, you can go with what feels right if you're playing solo or co-op. If you're playing in guided mode, ask the guide. When you seek inspiration or want to put it in the hands of fate, make the Ask the Oracle move. Use the yes/no questions and random oracle tables to generate interesting twists, complications, location, characters you might not have thought of on your own. Above all, if it's interesting, dramatic, and fits the fiction, make it happen. When you do something or encounter a situation covered by a move, refer to the move. If it tells you to roll dice, do it. A strong hit means you are in control. You're driving the narrative and taking proactive actions. What do you do next? Weak hit. We've actually read this section, this little thing before, but weak hit means the situation is slipping out of your control, and a miss means that you've lost control. If you're playing with a guide, they'll help determine why would anyone play as a guide if you could play co-op. I don't know. I mean, if you have a story you have to tell and you want to put people through it, I guess, but I mean, you could do that in co-op mode too. Okay, anyhow, if you're playing with a guide, they'll help determine how the other characters respond and how the situation evolves. They may ask you questions. Otherwise, you may rely on your intuition and occasional oracle rolls to drive the narrative. The basic gameplay structure is illustrated on the next page. And sorry. That was a cat. That was a cat using a litter box. Sorry you had to hear that. Jin, come on. Up. Up. Come on. Yeah, okay. Okay, so what's next? That's the basics of Starforged. In the next chapter, Order 66, you'll define the nature of your setting, create your character, and launch your campaign. If you're playing with others, do those exercises together to forge your universe. Once you begin play, you can refer back to this chapter if you have questions, and if you want to learn about a specific game term in a move or asset, check the glossary. And when you're ready for more details, tips, and options, take a look at Chapter 3 for gameplay in depth. Good luck, Ironsworn! Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and... oh, actually, there's a diagram. So let's look at the diagram really quick. This is... nope, sorry. So here's the flow of play diagram. Yay, we got a flow of play. I'm so happy. In the playtest, there was a diagram for flow, and I was kind of sad that it sounded like that's not going to show up, but oh well. I I struggled with it, but I thought it was a cool idea. So it's cool to see diagrams. I like diagrams. Who doesn't like a good diagram? Anyhow, so you start and you envision the current situation of and what your character is doing. And then when your action, and then you can ask and answer questions about the situation location, or you can, when your action triggers a move, make that move. And then you get a question whether you do a strong hit, weak hit, or miss. And then if you get a strong hit, what do you do next? And then if you get weak or miss, what happens next? That you could go back to the oracle to sort of decide, because you're not in full control. Whereas with a strong hit, you are actually in full control, so you get to envision what happens next. So that's a cool distinction to make in a diagram. And I don't think that diagram was in Ironsworn, so it's nice to see it sort of laid out like that. I have to remind myself. I'll have to go back to Ironsworn and take a look. Anyhow, so the next chapter is launching your campaign. So we'll do world building and character creation and all that sort of stuff. And I'm not entirely sure when that'll happen. It might be tomorrow. It might be next week. I don't know. But I am going to try to start streaming regularly. Maybe on Thursdays from 4:20 to 6:66, which we almost reached. 666 is 7:06 p.m. Anyhow, Central Time U.S. I don't know if I'm going to start streaming regularly. I might try that one day a week and do that. And so let's see. Might wait until next week. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. But thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for watching this if you're watching this on YouTube. And gonna have to decide whether I'm gonna try and edit this down into a thing or whether I'm just gonna leave up the raw thing. I'm probably gonna upload the raw version and then maybe consider editing down. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, thanks for hanging out, and I will see you next time. Bye. Yeah, I don't have. I'm sorry. I just realized that I didn't make a an exit image. Usually, what I do is I have like an intro and an extra, and I didn't really do that. I had that starting soon thing where I have myself in there, but I actually don't have a thing for ending this. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Anyhow, bye.